What happens when a plant doesn't get the nutrients it needs? Sheltered from the sun, parched from lack of water, or starving for proper soil? It dies. The scary thing is, some plants don't make it obvious they're dying, or at the very least struggling. So, why bring up plants? Well, plants and humans are actually very much alike. I wouldn't blame you if you think that sounds kind of odd. I mean, we don't have roots or leaves, and as much as we love it, we can't grow flowers randomly. But I'm confident we can agree on at least one way that we are similar. For example, we both like the sun. But wait, that's not even entirely always true, because I can remember my brother wearing 5 layers of sunscreen, terrified of the sun. Okay, let's try again. Both like oxygen? Those are pretty lame similarities, right? So how about a more creative one? Plants need sources of fuel to keep them going, and it's not something they can sustain independently, indefinitely. It's in this area that plants and humans are actually very much alike. Plants, for instance, usually need to be outside to get support from things they rely on, like bugs. So imagine that scenario of a plant lacking its necessities reflected onto humans. Only this time, it's rewritten as not having people to rely on and not having people we trust, things that extend past the bare minimum. These are the kind of things that go into supporting our mental health and well-being. See, we as humans are so unique for this, and we need to nurture it, especially within the youth. I'll get back to that later, but for now, back to plants. They're only as strong as they are as a result of being in harsh environments that life finds a way to expose them to, hoping for their survival. With this, it's no surprise that younger plants, seedlings, struggle to survive more in the wild. Who here has ever planted a herb, seedling, or any other type of plant in their home? Do you just stick it in the soil and leave it? Cross your fingers and hope for the best? Hopefully you don't. But the point is, you can't expect those plants to thrive without your external support. The exact same goes for kids my age. Seedlings, if you will, like me, my friends, kids here in Malaysia, kids all over the world, need more than just a bit of sunlight and fertilizer to really thrive. So without this, how can we expect anyone and any kid to grow up and learn how to foster their emotions properly? But of course, mental health difficulties aren't exclusive to just one age group or just one specific type of person, and everyone has their own unique way of dealing with their struggles and blocks. This includes the elderly, those with privilege and poverty, and yes, of course, teenagers, contrary to what many believe. Personally, in 2020, the year muddled with confusion, I struggled with identifying my own emotions, and that culminated in me struggling with being unsure of my own opinions, thereby making me second-guess so many things about myself. Albeit, there weren't major, life-altering, life-threatening things that I'd be confused with, but lots of small issues that made it feel like a big problem. I didn't know what to make of these emotions, and I felt like trusted adults and friends wouldn't know either. 2020, 3 years ago. And I know that might sound crazy to be struggling with those kind of things at such a young age, but the sad truth is, it's not as uncommon as you think. Alarming statistics show that over 2/3 of the UK alone, children in the UK, refuse to talk to their parents about their mental health. Take a moment to consider why this may be. Personally, I think a core reason why kids are so susceptible to having difficulties with their mental health is the lack of willingness to discuss the topic from our parents and guardians, and how uneducation on the topic often leads to invalidation. Invalidation, the rejection or dismissal of a person's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors as being valid and understandable. Invalidation of emotions is one of the many things that makes mental health in the youth so vulnerable. Even if it's not directly intentional, it can snowball into a wide range of side effects. To help understand further of the importance of parents educating themselves on mental health in the youth to avoid such things, let's explore another possible outcome called emotional suppression. Emotional suppression is a state where you feel as though you're on autopilot, reacting on how you think others would want you to react, abandoning your true emotions for a facade. Fearful of what reactions will occur to our strong reactions can be so extreme that it opts many my age to try and not react at all. Emotional suppression is a detrimental example of cause and effect from ignorance from parents when they don't take the time to really educate themselves. To help illustrate this point further, let's jump back to the example of plants and a small story of mine. I was given what was called a Venus flytrap, a peculiar alien-like looking plant renowned for its theatrical feedings on insects that get lured into its grasp. A day or two had passed since I got it, and I looked healthy. Its leaves were lush green, and I was sure it was getting ample sunlight. So I dusted my hands off and said I'll check on it within a day or two. I mean, I considered it didn't need that much attention, given that it basically feeds itself. So that day or two came, and I checked on it again. Its soil looked a little muddy, but I didn't think much of it. It's a plant, it's unpredictable. So I shrugged again and left and said I'll check on it within another day. The next day, that plant died. Little did I know that there were many signs that I just didn't pay attention to, warning me that it was going to happen. I was inexperienced in how to properly care for one. And this made it hard to gauge whether it was simply dormant, slowly dying, or totally okay. This kindled an even further connection between people and plants for me. We're both really sufficient at hiding the fact we're lacking the attention necessary to an untrained eye, or to those that simply don't get a notice. So, yes, life does find a way to offer us challenges that do make us stronger, build our character, but we aren't always meant to do them alone, as corny as it sounds. So it's worth avoiding what I did to that Venus flytrap and make an effort to be more attentive. I wish more households were more flexible with talking about their emotions. This way, kids would have an environment to express their emotions without fear of being judged. And if you think having those conversations might be uncomfortable with your family, that's okay. Emotions are different for everyone. But in the end, everyone needs to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, as former TED Talk presenter Leah Garces once said, to make people open their minds and hearts. So I challenge all parents today to go home and make a start. If you think you're already emotionally open, that's great, but you don't water a plant once and expect it to live forever. So it's good to keep it up with consistency and practice. So start small. Start with talking about some emotions. And the emotions you discuss with your kids don't always have to be negative. Share a time you enjoyed spending time with them, or something they did that made you feel cared for. This already would make the atmosphere more open for talking about emotions. But it's essential that as the adult in your family, you make an effort to do further research on other exercises that would open the atmosphere to being more accepting. Now, not exercises as in benching 40 kilograms, though that would be impressive if you could, but exercises that make you feel like you want to encourage your kids to come to you and talk, so that you could sit down and have a good conversation, so that there's no worries burdening either of you. So, I really hope that when we implement these small changes, stay true and consistent with them, life becomes a little easier for kids in this generation and those to come. Thank you.